Hello students, as mentioned in my previous audio, we shall now learn the most important aspect of the poem which makes the poem beautiful. They are called literary devices. What is this literary device? Literary device is a technique or tool or device a writer uses to produce a special effect in their writing. Writing could be a poem or a prose. Literary devices comprises of rhythm, rhyme and figures of speech which makes the poem enthralling. Let's understand them one by one. We begin with rhythm. What is rhythm? Rhythm means the measured flow of words and phrases in verse or prose form. In other words, it is a regular or repeated pattern of sound. Rhythm is referred as lay or tal in Marathi and Hindi. This makes the poem melodious. Now let's see rhyme scheme. Before we understand the definition of rhyme scheme, let us be very clear in the distinction of a paragraph and stanza. Prose, that is lessons, have paragraphs, whereas poems have stanzas. What is a rhyme scheme? A rhyme scheme is a repetition of similar sounding words occurring at the end of lines in poems or songs. A rhyme is a tool utilizing repeating patterns that bring rhythm or musicality to poems. This differentiates them from prose, which is plain. A rhyme is employed for the specific purpose of rendering a pleasing effect to a poem, which makes it recital and an enjoyable experience. Moreover, it offers itself as a mnemonic device, smoothing the progress of memorization. For instance, all nursery rhymes contain rhyming words in order to facilitate learning for children, as they enjoy reading them, and the presence of repetitive patterns enables them to memorize them effortlessly. We do not seem to forget the nursery rhymes we learned as children, do we? For instance, take the poem Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Did you observe a pattern in the bold and italic words? Star rhymes with R and high rhymes with sky. Rhyme scheme patterns are formatted in different ways. The patterns are encoded by letters of the alphabet as shown above. Lines designated with the same letter rhyme with each other. Hence, the rhyme scheme of the above stanza is A, A, B, B. But one needs to keep it in mind that all poems will not always have the above rhyme scheme. It will differ. I hope now you all are clear about both the above concepts, the rhyme scheme and rhyming words, and will be able to identify the rhyme scheme easily. Let us see the next most important aspect of a poem, figure of speech. What is figure of speech? A figure of speech is a phrase or word having different meanings than its literal meaning. It conveys meaning by identifying or comparing one thing to another, which has connotation or meaning familiar to the audience. That is why it is helpful in creating vivid rhetorical effect. In simple language or in layman's term, a poem is a beautiful creation of a poet's thoughts and feelings. He uses various figures of speech to further enhance his beauty, like making a beautiful damsel look more attractive and appealing by adorning her with various ornaments which are none other than figures of speech. There are many types of figures of speech. Let us get acquainted with few of them that you have in your school curriculum for classes 6th to 10th. They are personification, simile, metaphor, repetition, and alliteration. We begin with personification. What is personification? When you give an animal or object qualities or abilities that only a human can have, it's called personification. In other words, writers bring non human things to life. This creative literary tool adds interest and fun to poems or stories. It helps us better understand the writer's message. Let us see some examples. First one, lightning danced across the sky. The wind howled in the night. The car complained as the key was roughly turned in its ignition. Rita heard the last piece of pie calling her name. In all the above examples, lightning, wind, car, and pie have been given human qualities like dancing, howling, complaining, and calling, making them come alive by performing the task of humans. We come to the next figure of speech, simile. What is simile? A simile is a figure of speech that compares two different things in an interesting way. The object of a simile is to spark an interesting connection in a reader's or listener's mind. It is one of the most common forms of figurative language. Examples of similes can be found just about anywhere from poems to song lyrics and even in everyday conversations. Similes can make our language more descriptive and enjoyable. Writers, poets, and songwriters make use of similes often to add depth and emphasize what they are trying to convey to the reader or listener. Similes can be funny, serious, mean, or creative. For example, when someone says he is as busy as a bee, it means he is working hard, as bees are known to be extremely busy. If someone says, I am as snug as a bug in a rug, they mean that they feel very comfortable and cozy or are tucked up tight in bed. Some other well known similes you will often hear are as cute as a kitten, as light as a feather, as blind as a bat, as cold as ice. Let us see some more examples of similes regularly used in writing. You were as brave as a lion. They fought like cats and dogs. He is as funny as a barrel of monkeys. This house is as clean as a whistle. He is as strong as an ox. Similes and metaphors are often confused with one another. The main difference between a simile and metaphor is that a simile uses the words like or as to draw a comparison, and a metaphor simply states the comparison without using like or as. An example of a simile is she is as innocent as an angel. An example of a metaphor is she is an angel. Do you see the difference? Simile makes a direct comparison. The metaphor's comparison is implied but not stated. Let us study metaphor in detail now. What is metaphor? Metaphor is comparing two unlike objects or things which may have some common qualities. It is a figure of speech that describes an object or action in a way that isn't literally true, but helps explain an idea or make a comparison. The basics to be taken into consideration are: first, a metaphor states that one thing is another thing. Second, it equates those two things not because they actually are the same, but for the sake of comparison or symbolism. If you take a metaphor literally, it will probably sound very strange. Take, for example, the idiom, he is the black sheep of the family. The question that arises in our mind is whether are there actually any sheep, black or otherwise, in your family? Metaphors are used in poetry, literature, and anytime someone wants to add some color to their language. Let us see some simple examples of metaphor. The snow is a white blanket. He is a shining star. Her long hair was a flowing golden river. Tom's eyes were ice as he stared at her. I hope now you will be able to differentiate between simile and metaphor better and don't have confusion between the two. Now let us see the next figure of speech, which is repetition. What is repetition? Repetition is a literary device that repeats the same words or phrases a few times to make an idea clearer and more memorable. There are several types of repetition commonly used in both prose and poetry. Some examples of repetition in poetry are: if you think you can do it, you can do it. The second one, the boy was a good footballer because his father was a footballer and his grandfather was a footballer. What do you observe in the above examples? The highlighted words are repeated in the sentence, and hence the figure of speech used in the above sentences are very good examples of repetition, as we repeat the same word or phrase again and again. Let's see the last figure of speech of your curriculum, alliteration. Alliteration is derived from Latin's littera. It means letters of alphabet. It is a stylistic device in which a number of words having the same first consonant sound occur close together in a series. In simple or layman's term, alliteration is nothing but tongue twisters. Let's see some examples. First example, she sells seashells on the seashore. Second example, a big bully beats a baby boy. Third example, Betty bought butter, but the butter was bitter, so she bought another butter to make the bitter butter better. What do you observe in the above examples? In each of the above examples, S and B, these letters are repeated, giving it a distinctive sound. So, an important point to remember here is that alliteration does not depend on letters but on sound that is created. Some common examples of alliteration. Let's see them. In our daily life, we notice alliteration in the names of different companies. It makes the name of a company catchy and easy to memorize. Here are several common alliteration examples. Dunkin' Donuts, PayPal, Best Buy, Coca-Cola, LifeLock, Park Place. These are some of the common examples of alliteration used in the names of companies. We also find alliteration in names of people, making such names prominent and easy to be remembered. For instance, both fictional characters and real people may stand out prominently in your mind due to the alliterative effects of their names. Examples are Ronald Reagan, Sammy Sosa, Jesse Jackson, Michael Moore, William Wordsworth, Mickey Mouse. I hope the explanation was very clear and you don't have the slightest doubt about the importance of using the literary devices in our writings. Please feel free to comment for further queries. Thanks.